Hi, I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation, and the topic that we're going to discuss today, I'm going to share with you all the reasons why you should make a list of the things that create marital happiness. Now, you may think that that's my job. I should be telling you what creates marital happiness, and I'll infuse some things for you, but I don't consider you a dummy. I have the highest respect for you. And I know that you already know much of this. It's common sense and it's intuition. And unfortunately, we're not taught how to tap into those growing up. You know, it's kind of sad. When I was a kid, you always hear these, well, when I was a kid, but it's true. When I was a kid, we had critical thinking classes. How do you work things out? How do you solve things? Well, I'm going to give you some shortcuts for this, but here's why we're going to do it. We're going to do this because if your marriage is not filled with, and trust me when I say this, this is not hyperbole. I'm not saying this to blow smoke. This is the truth, okay? Are you ready? A properly functioning marriage that you understand. In other words, when you've gotten the proper education and you're properly running your marriage, you will feel more happiness than you have ever felt before, more love and more harmony, and it's constant. Now, I'm telling you the truth, okay? And here's the analogy. If you buy a car, you have an expectation of that car, that when you get in it, it's going to take you by your hands, your trained hands, wherever you want to go in comfort. And when you get married, if you were properly trained, your marriage is going to take you in a more than comfortable, a joy-filled ride into love and harmony. That's what it's supposed to do. Think back. When you first got married, before you first got married, when you first met your soulmate, what did you feel? You felt love like crazy. Now, I'm not talking about increased like. I'm not talking about, whoa, he's really smart. Or, wow, she's really intuitive. Or, she's beautiful. Or, he's handsome. I'm not talking about that. Those are secondary. What I'm talking about is that burst of love that came from your heart that transcends all the mental judgments, good and bad, that we have. Here's another example of when that it comes up. If you have children and you go into their room and you see them sleeping, every parent has experienced this, where their heart just bursts open with love. That love is something, the one thing that all of us crave. They talk about the necessities: food, oxygen, shelter, a good movie once in a while. Just kidding. But the real craving that we have supersedes those is love, true love. True love supersedes our mundane necessities. Isn't it so? And when we found our soulmate, we felt that love, that burst of love. And then right away, our mind started weaving reasons why. It's sort of interesting how the mind, which is meant to be a filter and a computer for us, an evaluator, turns into something that pulls us down out of love. It really does. Because as soon as you felt that love, if you can think back, you'll realize as soon as you felt that love, it was gone. It was gone. That's what happens. That's the power of the mind. And if you really want to have a good marriage, and I know I'm getting off track a little bit, but if you really want to have a good marriage, a great marriage, You have to learn how to control your mind so that it doesn't rule you in that way, because the point of marriage is experiencing love and happiness. And the mind's mission in life is to look for trouble. Isn't it so? To calculate, to evaluate, to go, well, this person is out to get me. I can't go there. And what do they mean by that? I have to be careful. But the heart, the pure love, doesn't care. It's pure. Pure love is what you're striving for in your marriage. Okay, now that we have determined that, what can we do to bring that joy into our marriage? Well, the negative, and I don't mean being negative, but the negative is we stop doing those things that harm our marriage. We start by not doing the things that harm our marriage. And I did a video on that, by the way. You might want to look at that. And then we want to talk about with ourself, not with our spouse, with ourself, what can I do that enhances that feeling of love? How do I cultivate that love? What can I do? A hint, okay? I'm going to get you started, as I promised. Being very complimentary. Now, not externally complimentary. Don't BS your soulmate. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, again, remember, we're going back to controlling the mind. So if your mind determines that your wife or your husband is doing something that bothers you, stop the mind from doing that. You have that power. And instead, replace that thought that you had with, wow, they're so cool. They're so beautiful. They're so handsome. And run with that thought. And this is a way of cultivating your devotion and your love towards them, you see. It always goes back to controlling the mind. Now, I wrote 2 books. Let's go back, okay? If you don't mind, I won't bore you. I was a divorce mediator until 2001, and a couple asked me to help them save their marriage, which turned me into a marriage expert over time. It took me 8 years to create these teachings, working with individuals, couples in the beginning, but then individuals, and developing a real science around marriage, real teachings. And I wrote my first book called Lessons for a Happy Marriage, and it has saved thousands of marriages. You could go to Amazon and see the ratings, and that was very good. It was very practical. It's not long. It's not hard. It's an easy book because marriage is kind of simple. And then I wrote a second book called Breaking the Cycle, which I think is far superior. And I used it as a way. I started in 2011. I started training therapists and psychologists to these teachings. And these teachings are very deep. It was very interesting to watch the therapist's eyes open, because there were things that they were learning they just never knew. Because in Western psychology, it's all about fixing this and fixing that and blaming him and blaming her and finding a balance and setting boundaries. None of that works. None of it works. What works is working with the positive, cultivating that love, working towards the supreme ambition, the craving for love, the divine love, unconditional love, that brings automatically happiness. That's what all of us want. And then eventually, working with these individuals, and it was always individuals, because you don't need both of you to work on your marriage. That's a huge fallacy. In fact, when both of you are working on your marriage, it isn't going to do much good. As an individual, you have to work on your marriage. Even if both of you individually are working on your marriage individually, it's not a team effort. It's an individual effort. And you alone can do it. So we have an online course for men and an online course for women, very reasonably priced, set up to entice you because I want to transform your marriage. Down the road, all that will be used are these teachings, whether they came from us at the Marriage Foundation or someone copied this and copied that and elaborated on this. But you know, it's a science. It's a science on cause and effect. So whether someone else puts it in different words, it's still going to be the same thing. And it works. And that's the cool part. So we have that for you. And I hope you take advantage of it. But the whole idea is to work on your marriage towards love, happiness, and harmony. Don't blame him. Don't blame her. Don't criticize. And begin with a list of what can I do to improve my expressions of love. And they have to be sincere. So it'll go back to controlling the mind. It's a very important step in having a fantastic marriage compared to a mundane marriage. And then what you do is you stick to these principles that you yourself discover. You know what you do that works. For instance, you know that when you smile at your soulmate, you get a very positive response, especially when you compare it to if you frown at them or start a conversation with, hey, which will trigger them. And then, bam, you're in a mess. So learn these teachings. Watch these videos, read my articles, go to our website. If you have a question of me personally, put it in the comment section. I'll respond to you personally. Or you could write, it's a free service, write to our Ask a Counselor, and you'll have someone who's trained by me. We train our counselors with online courses, and you will really end up with a great marriage. And we have lots of successes, thousands and thousands, so you could even take a look at our reviews and see. Again, I'm Paul Friedman. Share this video with people, maybe social media, maybe with a friend. It seems like all of the people who take our courses have found us through the videos or a friend or maybe a pastor and like that, because we're very positive. We don't hit you over the head with anything. So like the video, that's always, a way of telling me that I did a good job. And if you like these videos, you could subscribe to. Many people do that. God bless you. I'm glad you stopped by. Thank you.